The soul, the eternal mystery behind the eyes, the silent presence within you, the truth that cannot be seen or touched yet defines everything you are. Long before organized religion, long before science, there was the knowing that something lives beyond the body, beyond the mind. Something infinite, something ancient. This is the story of the soul, not in doctrine, not in dogma, but in the way the ancients remembered it. What you call you is not your soul. Your name, your body, your thoughts, they are instruments. The soul is the observer, the experiencer, the traveler. In ancient Egypt, the soul was called the Ba and the Ka, the essence and the vital force. The Greeks called it psyche, meaning breath. In Vedic India, it was Atman, the immortal self, a spark of Brahman. Every tradition pointed to the same truth. The soul is a fragment of the divine. The soul is not born, it enters. And it does not die, it departs. Through lifetimes it travels, gathering experience like light gathers in a crystal. Each life, a lesson. Each challenge, an echo of past choices. Karma is not punishment, it is the memory of energy. What you put into the world you meet again, not as retribution, but as refinement. In this way, the soul evolves, not upward, not higher, but deeper, closer to its source. You are not just here, you never were. The soul exists on many planes. As you dream, meditate, or experience déjà vu, you touch other layers of the self. In deep stillness, you may hear the voice of the soul. It speaks without words, it feels like remembering. Atlantean initiates believed that the soul held memories of stars, that each of us was seeded from constellations, incarnating into form to experience contrast, pain, beauty, and return with knowing. There comes a moment in many lives where everything collapses. Loss, emptiness, disconnection. This is not death, it is initiation. The soul often chooses the breaking as a way through. When the identity shatters, the light gets in. Through silence, through surrender, through shadow work and truth, we realign. The soul emerges not as something added, but revealed. Your purpose is not what you do, it is what you remember. You came here not to perform, but to remember who you are beneath the forgetting. The soul's purpose is expression. Through love, through creation, through truth. You may be an artist, a healer, a parent, a monk. The forms are many. The essence is one. When you align with your soul, life does not become easier. It becomes real. Sometimes in music, in sacred places, or in the gaze of another, something within you stirs. A tear, a chill, a knowing. That is the soul remembering. You are not here to find the soul. You are the soul. And everything you live, love, lose, and learn, it is all part of the return to the truth that you have never been separate, never been lost, only dreaming. This is the story of the soul. And you have always known it. The soul moves through ages like wind through trees, unseen but changing everything it touches. From lifetime to lifetime, it picks up impressions, imprints, echoes. These echoes live within your instincts, your fears, your longings. When you feel a deep connection to something you've never encountered, it may be memory, soul memory. You do not begin at birth. You are older than the stars. You were fire and stone. You were thought and breath. You witnessed the rising of temples long buried and watched the sea consume cities made of light. In silence, the soul speaks loudest, not in language, but in recognition. It moves when you pause long enough to hear your own heartbeat. It knows when your feet touch sacred ground. It remembers when you touch another's pain and feel your own. This remembering is the awakening, and it is happening everywhere. Across the world, souls are stirring. They are awakening from the long dream of separation, remembering their origin, their unity, their purpose. This is not a mass event. It is a silent revolution, not loud, but powerful. It begins with longing, the longing for something more, not more money, more success, more validation, but more meaning, more truth, more being. This longing is sacred. It is the soul calling itself back. It does not care what you do. It cares how you feel when you do it. It does not seek performance. It seeks presence. It does not demand achievement. It asks only for honesty. To walk the path of the soul is to walk inwards, to descend through the layers of persona and defense until you reach the fire at your core. And when you find that fire, you will know, this is who I am. Not the mask, not the role, but the eternal, the true. Many fear the soul because it cannot be controlled. It cannot be branded, bought, or boxed. It cannot be owned. It only reveals itself when invited, and it only speaks in truth. This is why awakening is often painful, because the truth burns. It strips away illusion. It dismantles ego. It reveals everything we tried to hide, from others, from ourselves. But it also heals. In the fire of truth, the soul shines. Your pain is not punishment, it is a path. Your wounds are not failures, they are doors. Each tear has purpose, each ache a signal. The soul uses what the mind rejects. The soul speaks in symbols, in signs, in silence, in dreams, in synchronicity, in the beauty that makes you weep and the sorrow that makes you see. This is the language of the soul. It is not logic, it is poetry. And now, you feel it. The call, the quiet pull to something real. You may not be able to name it, but it pulls you. It humbles you. It stirs something ancient in your chest. This is the soul saying, come home. Come back to what you were before the forgetting. Return to the beginning that never ended, and from that place create. From that space love. From that center live. This is the full story of the soul, and it is still being written by you. The soul does not shout. It does not demand your attention. It waits, quietly, patiently. Through every moment you forget who you are, it remains unchanged. When you chase what doesn't fulfill you, it watches. When you break down, when the world falls away, it is still there, not to rescue, but to remind. The soul is not your savior. It is your source. There are moments that do not make sense to the mind, but the soul understands them instantly. The stillness before a storm. The breath you didn't know you were holding. The person you meet and feel you've known for centuries. These are not accidents. They are alignments. The soul speaks in resonance, not proof, but presence. Not logic, but truth that vibrates through your entire being like a sound too deep to hear but impossible not to feel. You have lived before, not once, many times, in bodies that have turned to ash, in voices no longer spoken. You have been the child and the warrior, the priest and the prisoner, the healer and the lost. All of them are within you now. The pain you carry that has no origin, the love you feel with no cause. These are echoes of your own soul speaking through lifetimes. The memories are not gone. They are stored in vibration, waiting for the moment you are still enough to remember. And yet the remembering is not about stories, not about names, dates, timelines. It is about essence, about recognizing the feeling of truth when it returns, when a place you've never been feels like home, when a language you don't speak feels familiar. When a task feels like destiny, not obligation. The soul is not bound to time. It is not linear. It moves through spirals, through echoes, through layers of experience, like light refracted through an endless crystal. We fear the soul because it does not follow rules. It follows rhythm. It does not obey. It aligns. The soul cannot be predicted, owned, or manipulated. It is sovereign. It is the flame that remains after everything false burns away. You cannot lose your soul, but you can turn away from it, and in doing so, you lose yourself. But the soul never punishes. It waits. And when you return, after the detours, the wounds, the confusion, it welcomes you without judgment, because it knows every path is part of the way, every fall was part of the rising, even the forgetting is part of the remembering. You are not broken. You are breaking open, and the more you try to fill the silence with noise, the further you drift. But when you sit in stillness, truly sit, truly listen, you will hear it. Not a voice, not a word, but a pull, a shift, a return, like the ocean calling back the tide, like gravity for the spirit. The soul doesn't want you to change, it wants you to remember. Remember what it felt like to be whole, before the world told you who to be, before you wore masks to survive, before you believed that you were only flesh and thought. And when you remember, even for a second, everything stops. The search ends, and in that pause, that sacred moment between breath and breath, you find it. Or rather, it finds you, because the soul has always been searching for you too. And then it happens. You meet someone and everything inside you stirs. Not the surface-level recognition of a stranger, but something deeper. A memory without language, a knowing without explanation. You see their eyes and something ancient shifts. You feel the echo. You remember something you never knew you forgot. These are not coincidences. These are soul mirrors. The people you meet are not random. Some come to awaken you. Some come to challenge you. Some come to break you open so something buried can rise again. Every connection is a message. Every relationship a classroom. The soul uses others to reflect your own light back at you, and sometimes your shadow too. Love is not just emotion, it is memory. When you love someone without reason, it is often the soul recognizing another it has known before. It bypasses logic. It moves through time. But just as the soul pulls you to love, it also pulls you into pain. Not to punish, but to refine. Pain is the soul's scalpel, cutting away what you no longer need. You may resist it. You may curse it. But one day you will see it was a gift. And loss, oh, loss is the soul's greatest teacher. To lose someone you love is to feel the illusion of separation tear through you. It brings you to your knees. It silences the mind and opens the spirit. In grief, we are closest to truth, because grief strips away what is not real. It reminds us that the body is temporary, but connection is eternal. Your soul knows this. It doesn't fear death. It doesn't fear endings, because it sees beyond them. The ones you've lost, they are not gone. They have simply moved ahead through the veil. And when the time is right, when the rhythm aligns, you will meet again. Not in this form, perhaps, but in essence, in energy, in recognition. The soul is not solitary. It travels in circles, in constellations, in soul groups that incarnate together across time to help each other grow. Sometimes you are the guide, sometimes the student, sometimes the wound, sometimes the healing, and each time you become more whole. Even the ones who hurt you played their role. They touched the wound so you could feel it. They activated the part of you still in hiding. Through them you found yourself again. Not because of the pain, but through it. The soul wastes nothing. Every experience, every heartbreak, every silence, it all becomes part of the return. Because the journey is not outward, it never was. It only ever appeared that way. Every search, every longing, every reaching was always leading you back to the center, back to the still point within, back to the origin you carry in your chest like a secret flame. You are not here to fix your life. You are here to remember that you are life, that you are not separate from the universe. You are an expression of it, a song sung in form, a vibration moving through flesh, a soul choosing to experience itself as you. The soul speaks through feeling, not surface emotion but deep resonance. That silent yes you feel when something aligns, that tension in your chest when something is wrong. The soul doesn't argue, it doesn't explain. It responds, softly, consistently. It pulls you toward what is real and resists what is false. When you betray yourself even a little, the soul recoils. You may not notice it right away, but the disconnect begins. Numbness creeps in, things lose meaning. You chase what once fulfilled you and find it empty. Because the soul cannot pretend. It will not be where you are not true. You can fool your mind. You can manipulate your body. You can even silence your heart. But you cannot lie to your soul. It keeps the score of what is sacred. It remembers your original frequency, the one you carried before you were taught how to perform. And every time you go against that truth, a small part of you vanishes. Not forever, just into forgetting. The soul does not punish you for this, it simply waits. It waits until you are tired of the pretending, until the costumes become too heavy, until the applause no longer matters. And then, in the silence, after all of it falls apart, it whispers again, "This way, come home." The further you stray from the soul, the more fear takes over. Fear is not an enemy. It is a signal. It tells you where you are still asleep. It shows you where you are protecting illusion. When you walk a path that isn't yours, fear will wrap around you like vines. But when you step toward what is true, even trembling, even blind, something loosens. The air clears. A hidden current begins to carry you. This is not the same as comfort. The soul is not interested in keeping you safe. It is interested in setting you free. And freedom requires honesty. Freedom asks that you stop clinging, that you stop shrinking, that you stop calling survival a life. The soul is activated by courage, by presence, by truth. Not truth as concept, but truth as vibration. A life aligned with soul is not free from difficulty, but it is alive, it is vivid, it is holy in its depth. And once you taste that kind of life, there is no going back. You begin to see through the surface of things. You begin to feel the soul behind the faces. You sense what people carry but don't say. You feel what a space holds, even when it looks fine. You touch a kind of sight that the eyes alone could never give you. This is not magic. This is memory. You are remembering how to see from the center of being. And slowly, the world changes. Not because it changes, but because your perception transforms. The more you live from the soul, the more reality bends to meet you. Not with perfection, but with meaning. The synchronicities increase. The timing sharpens, the clarity deepens. And your path begins to unfold not through control, but through trust. You will still face challenges, but you will no longer face them as a mask. You will meet them as the soul, and when you do, something happens that cannot be faked. You stop reacting and begin responding. You stop running and begin listening. You stop surviving and begin living. This is the power of alignment, not a technique, not a shortcut, but a return to the ancient intelligence that was always within you. Not just your soul, but the soul of the world breathing through you. The soul remembers in symbols. It doesn't archive in words or dates. It stores meaning, feeling, frequency. When you are drawn to a place you've never been, when you weep at music you cannot explain, when you meet someone and feel both awe and ache, the soul is remembering. The mind may dismiss it, but the soul knows. It carries the memories of 1,000 lifetimes, not as stories, but as seeds. These seeds sprout as gifts, fears, habits, affinities. A sculptor may have carved stone in forgotten temples. A child who fears drowning may recall the sea's betrayal. A deep love for stars may come from a time when you were one. But this is not about curiosity or escape. You do not explore the past to avoid the present. You explore it to illuminate it. The soul brings past life patterns forward not to burden you, but to heal. You are not cursed to repeat unless you refuse to see. The pain you carry is not a punishment. It is a reminder, a lesson unfinished, a circle not yet closed. You attract the same kinds of people because something in you is asking to be resolved. You face the same conflict again and again, not because you are broken, but because the soul is asking, are you ready now? Are you ready to respond differently? Healing the past does not mean reliving it. It means becoming so present that the pattern dissolves. The wound may not vanish, but it transforms. It becomes wisdom. It becomes power. The scar is not shame. It is a mark of where you woke up. And as you heal, something strange happens. You start to change the future. Because timelines are not fixed, they are potential. And the more you act from the soul, the more you move into futures aligned with your highest resonance. This is not fantasy. This is vibration. You are a field, you are a frequency. And what you embody determines what you attract. Your past lives are not behind you, they are inside you. They are the underground rivers feeding your intuition, your fears, your dreams. You may not remember the details, you don't need to. You remember through emotion, through instinct, through the unspoken. The soul doesn't think, it recalls, and sometimes you meet another soul and together you remember more. A glance unlocks a door. A conversation opens a forgotten corridor of your being. You say, I don't know why, but I trust you. That's the soul. That's recognition. That's memory waking up through connection. You do not need regression. You need presence. You need stillness. In silence, the soul reveals its archives. Not in books, in sensations, in knowing. And when it does, your path makes more sense. The pain has context. The gifts have direction. The cycles find closure. You begin to forgive, not just others, yourself, for the things you didn't know, for the roles you played, for the versions of you that had to forget to survive. The soul does not shame the journey. It honors it. And it is through that honoring that integration begins. You are not fragments. You are a constellation, a living map of moments, lifetimes, lessons. And when you begin to walk with that awareness, every step becomes sacred. You no longer seek to escape the present. You become its embodiment, fully here, fully awake, fully aligned. And in that presence, the soul begins to speak not just to you, but through you. The soul is the source of true creation. Not the kind of creation that imitates or performs, but the kind that reveals. When you write something that surprises you, when your hand paints what your mind didn't plan, when your voice sings without trying to be beautiful, that is the soul expressing through form. True creativity does not come from thought. It comes from alignment, from dropping so deeply into presence that the veil thins. The soul flows into you and the boundaries dissolve. Time slows, noise fades, and for a moment, you are not making something. You are being made. This is why great art feels familiar even when it's new. Because the soul doesn't invent, it remembers. And when others witness that remembrance, something stirs in them too. They don't just see your creation, they feel seen by it. Intuition is the soul's language. It doesn't argue, it doesn't convince, it nudges, it flickers, it arrives fully formed. A direction, a knowing, a pull towards something you can't explain but can't deny. The more you listen, the louder it becomes. The more you follow it, the clearer your life becomes. But the soul does not scream over noise. It waits in the quiet. It speaks when you stop pretending. When you sit with yourself long enough to feel the tremble under the surface, that tremble is truth. That is the place from which real choices are made. Not reactive, not conditioned, but true. To live from the soul is to move in alignment, even when it makes no sense to the mind. even when it costs comfort, even when it disrupts what others expect. Because the soul does not care about appearances, it cares about essence. You will be misunderstood, you may be rejected, but you will feel free. You will walk with clarity, because every time you say yes to the soul, the path ahead clears. Not because it is easy, but because it is right. And the soul doesn't just guide you in big decisions, it guides you in the small ones. The pauses, the glances, the choices to speak or stay silent, the impulse to turn left when everything says right, the moments where something within you says, stop, wait, go now, this is it. The more you listen, the more you begin to trust that voice. And the more you trust it, the more it speaks, not in words, in flow, in alignment, in peace that comes even when everything around you is uncertain. That peace, that's the soul. Not happiness, not success, not pleasure, peace. The stillness beneath all movement, the knowing beneath all thought, the presence that holds even your fear without trying to fix it. This is the voice you were born with, before it was buried in noise, before it was drowned out by should and must and prove. And now, as you return, piece by piece, choice by choice, the voice becomes clearer. It says, you are not lost, you are arriving. Time is a construct of the mind, but the soul exists outside it. That's why the most meaningful moments in life often feel timeless. When you fall in love, when you lose someone, when you stand in awe before beauty so vast your breath stops. In those moments, time stretches, bends, disappears, and what remains is presence. Eternity touching you through a crack in the ordinary. The soul is not counting minutes, it's collecting meaning. You could live 100 years and never touch your soul, or one moment of pure presence could awaken what a lifetime of effort could not. We fear death because we identify with the form, but the soul was never the form. It is the witness, the presence, the light behind the eyes that sees the aging body and remembers, I am not this. Death is not the end. It is a passage, a transition. The body falls away, the ego dissolves, but the essence, that remains. It carries with it all the truth you uncovered and all the love you gave. Nothing else comes with you. This is why love matters more than anything. Not romance, not sentiment. Love, the soul's natural state. Love as recognition, as freedom, as the silent honoring of another being's path, no matter how different from yours. Love is what the soul breathes. When you love purely and without condition, you are not practicing something. You are remembering something, and this is what endures. After the body is gone, after the stories fade, the love you gave lives on in every soul it touched. The soul is not bound to linear endings. It moves in circles, in returns, in waves of remembrance. Even the people you've lost, you haven't lost them, not truly. Their soul is not gone. It has just changed form. And in moments of silence, in dreams, in flashes of presence, they are there, not as ghosts, as presence, as love without skin. The soul knows no finality, only return, the return to essence, to unity, to the infinite. Death to the soul is not a tragedy, it is a homecoming. The tragedy is living as if you are only the body, forgetting that you are already eternal. And so the work is not to escape death. It is to live fully now, to embody the soul while in the flesh, to let eternity move through the finite, to bring the sacred into the ordinary. That is the real alchemy. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be whole, to feel everything, to rise and fall and rise again, to crack open and let light pour out. You are here to remember what it means to be human and divine at once. Because you are not a soul having a human experience. You are the soul. You are the experience. And the remembering of that is everything. And so we return to the beginning. The soul is not a destination. It is the thread running through all things. It was with you when you took your first breath. It will be there when you take your last. It does not speak in commands or promises. It speaks in stillness, in symbols, in subtle knowing. You will not find it in noise. You will not find it in approval. You will find it when you stop seeking and start listening. When you let go of who you were taught to be. When you sit in the quiet and ask nothing but truth. When you let yourself feel without fear, break without shame, and rise without reason, that is when the soul shines. And you will know, not because someone told you, but because it will feel like home. Not the home of walls and name, but the home beneath all forgetting. The home you've been carrying in your chest your whole life. You are not here to become. You are here to remember. The soul is not elsewhere, it is you. And the more you live from that place, the more you light the path, not only for yourself, but for everyone still dreaming. So pause, breathe, feel. You are not lost, you are arriving. And if this stirred something in you, if even for a moment you felt the truth of who you really are, then stay with us. Subscribe to the channel to keep walking the path of remembering. Here we speak the language of the soul, and in silence we hear what the world has forgotten. You are not alone. Welcome home.